of slavery. Very soon, however, those who favored free soil became the majority and set up a rival government. President Pierce recognized the pro-slavery legislature, while the Republicans attacked it as a tyrannical instrument of the minority. In Kansas, fighting broke out, and the Republicans used Bleeding Kansas to win more Northern votes. Sectional division in the election of 1856. The Republicans, who sought votes only in the free states, nominated John C. Fremont for president. The Know-Nothings ran ex-President Millard Fillmore as a champion of sectional compromise. The Democratic candidate James Buchanan defended the Compromise of 1850 and carried the election despite clear gains for the Republicans. The House divided 1857 to 1880. The long sectional quarrel convinced North and South that they were so different in culture that they could no longer coexist in the same nation. Cultural sectionalism. Cultural and intellectual cleavages surfaced in the 1840s. Even religion divided North and South. Baptists, Methodists, and Presbyterians split into Northern and Southern denominations because of their attitudes towards slaveholding. Southern literature romanticized life on the plantation, and the South attempted to become intellectually and economically independent in preparation for nationhood. At the same time, Northern intellectuals condemned slavery in prose and poem. Uncle Tom's Cabin, for example, was an immense success in the North, while it was totally banned in the South. The Dred Scott case. The Supreme Court had a chance to decide the issue of slavery in the territories when it agreed to consider the case of Dred Scott versus Sanford in 1857. Instead of limiting itself to a narrow determination of the case, the court ruled that the Missouri Compromise had been unconstitutional because Congress should not restrict the right of slave owners to take his slave into the territory. The ruling outraged the North and strengthened the Republicans. The Lecompton Controversy. Once again, events in Kansas created sectional conflict. The pro-slavery faction met in a rigged convention at Lecompton to write a constitution and apply for admission as a free state. Free Soilers in Kansas overwhelmingly rejected the Lecompton Constitution, but President Buchanan and the Southerners in Congress accepted it and tried to admit Kansas as a state. The House defeated this attempt. The Lecompton Constitution was referred back to the people of Kansas, who repudiated it. The Lecompton controversy split the Democrats when Douglas broke with Buchanan over the issue, but Douglas made himself unpopular in the South by doing so. Debating the morality of slavery. In 1858, Republican Abraham Lincoln faced Democrat Stephen Douglas in the Illinois state race for Senate. Lincoln claimed that there was a Southern plot to extend slavery throughout the nation. He promised to take measures that would ensure the eventual extinction of the institution. Above all, Lincoln made the point that he considered slavery a moral problem, while Douglas did not. Douglas answered by accusing Lincoln of favoring racial equality, in a potent charge that forced Lincoln to defend white supremacy. Lincoln lost the election but gained a national reputation. The South's crisis of fear. A series of events in 1859 and 1860 convinced Southerners that Republicans intended to foment rebellion among African Americans and white small farmers. John Brown tried to capture the arsenal at Harper's Ferry in order to arm slaves. When Brown was executed for treason, the North mourned him as a martyr. The whites South was disgusted and became convinced that the Republican Party would use armed force to abolish slavery. The only solution, it seemed, was to secede if the next president was a Republican. The election of 1860. The Republicans nominated Lincoln in 1860 because he was from Illinois and because he was not as controversial as other Republican leaders. In order to widen the party's appeal, the Republicans promised high tariffs for industry, free homesteads for small farmers, and government aid to internal improvements. Democrats could not agree on a candidate. The Northern wing nominated Stephen Douglas. The Southern Democrats nominated John Breckinridge, and the Constitutional Union Party ran John Bell, who promised to compromise the differences between the North and the South. Lincoln received less than 40% of the popular vote, but won virtually every Northern electoral vote, giving him the victory. The breakup of the Union would not have happened without slavery or the rise of strictly sectional parties like the Republicans, but the conflict arose from a fundamental difference between two different ideals of society. The South saw itself as paternalistic, generous, and prosperous, and defended slavery on the grounds of race. The North, inspired by evangelical Protestantism, believed that each person should be responsible for himself and free to make his own way in the world. To the North, slavery was tyrannical and immoral.